Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Andrew Abbott and Tyler Wells on the mound in this one. Andrew Abbott's been a diamond in the rough so far in his first few starts at the Major League level. 23 2/3 innings of work. He's got a 1.14 ERA, a 3-0 record. His last game, he had 10 strikeouts and 6 innings of work. Now, he did give up 3 home runs in that game, which is a little bit concerning, but now on the road away from that hitter-friendly ballpark in Great American, I do think Abbott pitches well here against an Orioles team that's not hitting lefties too well in the last 30 days or so, and I do think that, Tyler Wells on the other side, he's been pitching well overall this year, 3.22 ERA, but I don't love the fact that in his last couple of games, 4 home runs combined, 4 walks to go with it. I know he faced some tough teams in the Rays and the Rays and the Blue Jays, but now you're facing the Cincinnati Reds, who have been red hot against lefties and righties offensively in the last month. So I like the price we're getting here with Cincinnati and the young pitcher in Abbott. I'm going to take that plus money on the money line on the road with Cincinnati. Next up is the San Diego Padres taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Rich Hill and Yu Darvish are your starters. There's no doubting the Padres have been one of the more disappointing teams in all of baseball this year. And we saw they had 2 disappointing results against the Nationals in the final 2 games of that series after winning Game 1 13-3. But I do think they bounce back here, go on the road against Pittsburgh. I like their chances in Game 1 of this series. Yu Darvish has not been in the best of form, that's for sure. He has had some tough matchups. He had to go at Coors Field. Then he faced the Tampa Bay Rays, one of the tougher lineups in baseball against righties. Then the San Francisco Giants, another really good lineup against righties as of late. Now you're facing the Pirates, a team that's ranked 25th in baseball in OPS against righties in the last 30 days, also below average in isolated power. So I do think this sets up to be a decent bounce-back outing for Darvish. And Rich Hill, a lefty, the Padres have crushed lefties as of late. Number 2 in both OPS and isolated power against southpaws in the last 30 days with a pretty high walk rate and low strikeout rate to go with it. And Rich Hill's not really my favorite option on the mound. His control's been off a little bit. 8 walks in his last 2 outings of 10 2/3 innings. Both of those Pirates losses, 8-3 and 5-4. I like the Padres in this game on the road, on the run line and the money line. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Kevin Gausman going for Toronto. No official starter for the Giants right now. Now, the Giants have gone with a lot of bullpen games as of late. We know this bullpen's been in really good form overall this season and in the last month. But, the San Francisco used a bullpen game in that series against Arizona. Their bullpen's been used quite heavily over the last couple of weeks or so because of their injuries in their starting rotation. This is a really good Blue Jays lineup, and we saw they had a pretty big series against Oakland, especially in the final couple of games, scoring 19 runs in the final 2 combined. So, with Kevin Gausman on the mound, pitching as well as he has this year, especially at Rogers Center where he has an ERA below 3, it's tough to really get there with San Francisco, in my opinion. Gausman in 48 1/3 innings at Rogers Center, 66 strikeouts, a 2.61 ERA, and a 218 opponent's batting average. Limits the home run ball, limits the walks. I think he's a good option here for Toronto. I like their chances in this one. So give me the Toronto Blue Jays on the money line at Rogers Center. Next up, it's the Miami Marlins taking on the Boston Red Sox. Sandy Alcantara and Garrett Whitlock are your starters. I just can't get there with the Marlins in this game with how bad Sandy Alcantara has struggled as of late and just overall this season. An ERA of 5.08 overall, a 5.36 ERA away from home, now going to Fenway Park, a very hitter-friendly ballpark. In your last couple of games, 12 1/3 innings combined, 20 base hits, 10 earned runs, a home run, and only 7 strikeouts to go with it. The Red Sox lineup has made some improvements against righties in the last couple of weeks or so after struggling towards the middle to end of May. And Garrett Whitlock, I watched his last start against the Twins. The final line was 7 innings, 4 runs, which isn't great, but I thought he was actually really sharp in that game. Couple of mistake pitches, but 6 strikeouts, no walks. You only give up 1 home run. You can live with that if you're the Red Sox. And I think overall, Whitlock's made a lot of improvements in his game. And I don't mind backing him in this spot. He's actually been better at Fenway Park than he has been on the road this year. So give me the Boston Red Sox on the money line at Fenway Park. Next up, it's the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the New York Mets. Julio Teheran and David Peterson are your starters. Now, if you guys have watched the rundown for a while, I don't usually like to back the Mets when David Peterson has been on the mound, but I do think this is a decent spot for him, at least matchup-wise. You're facing a Brewers team that in the last month overall in 2023, and even going back to 2022, has notoriously struggled against left-handed pitchers. This in the last 30 days alone, they're 23rd and 24th in isolated power and team OPS against lefties. They have a 25% strikeout rate, which is 10th highest in the league against southpaws. So I do think Peterson, who has pretty good strikeout stuff, will be able to put together 4 to 5 decent innings for the Mets in this game. And Julio Teheran, he's been sharp this year, 1.53 ERA. There are some regression concerns. He doesn't really strike out a lot of guys. We saw 4 walks allowed in his last outing against the Diamondbacks. It was 5 innings of shutout baseball, but the Brewers' bullpen has been great this year, and because of that, we saw a 5-1 win for Arizona in that game, despite not getting much against Teheran. So, I don't love the fact that Teheran doesn't miss a lot of bats. The Mets already do a pretty good job at limiting strikeouts at the plate to begin with, and we look at the Mets' winning record so far at Citi Field this season. They play their much better ball when they're playing at home. I like their chances in this one with Peterson on the bump. Give me the New York Mets on the money line at Citi Field. Next up, it's the Minnesota Twins taking on the Atlanta Braves. Joe Ryan and Bryce Elder are your starters. 2 starting pitchers that overall have pitched well this year, both sub-3 ERAs. Both starters coming off shutout performances against the opposition. Joe Ryan, 9 innings complete game shutout against the Red Sox, and Bryce Elder, 7 innings of shutout ball against the Phillies in a 5-1 Braves win. Elder's only given up 1 earned run in his last 13 innings combined. For me, the difference in this game is the Braves lineup's just been a lot more trustworthy. They've crushed the baseball against righties in the last month. When you look at their numbers, they've got the number 1 team OPS, the number 1 isolated power. It's not really even close in baseball against righties. And the Twins, they have the highest strikeout rate in baseball against righties in the last 30 days at 29.7%. And then when you look at the bullpens, the Braves bullpens had the better ERA in the last 30 days, and they have the better expected numbers in Sierra, the Braves' 3rd best bullpen in the last 30 days. So I got to give the advantage to the home team here with the better lineup and the better bullpen. So give me Atlanta on the money line. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Framber Valdez and Jordan Montgomery, another pair of lefties on the mound in this one. Jordan Montgomery has not really fared too well at Busch Stadium this season, where he's got a 4.62 ERA, a losing record in 39 innings of work, only 36 strikeouts, facing a pretty tough Astros lineup that, yes, is missing Yordan Alvarez, but has actually made some improvements. We saw in that Dodgers series, they had a pretty good series offensively. And, against lefties overall this year, good numbers. In the last 30 days, solid numbers as well. I like their chances against Jordan Montgomery, and Framber Valdez, he's Mr. Consistency. He's usually going to give the Astros a quality start almost every single outing, and he's a very efficient starter. Doesn't really strike out a ton of guys. This year, 104 Ks in 99 innings, but he's still, I would say, considered more of a pitch-to-contact guy. He gets a lot of ground ball outs, and because of that, he's pretty efficient and can go 7, 8, sometimes 9 innings of work. So that's important. The Astros bullpen's been a little shaky as of late. Both of these teams throughout the season have had some bullpen issues, but I think the Astros have the better lineup, the better starter, and the slightly better bullpen. With the Cardinals coming from London, only 1 day off, I'm going to take the Houston Astros here on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Texas Rangers. We're going to see Martin Perez going for the Rangers. No official starter for the Tigers right now, but I am reading that Matt Manning may be able to make his return to the Major League level in this game. He pitched 3 rehab outings in AAA Toledo, 8 2/3 innings. He didn't give up a single earned run, just 1 unearned run. And he had good strikeout stuff. He had 9 Ks in those 8 2/3. But the big concern for me would be the walks. He had 8 walks in those innings. So right around 9 walks per 9. That's not really what you want to see, control-wise going into your first start back. And the Rangers, we know, a very good lineup against right-handed pitchers, against lefties. They have been one of the better offensive teams in baseball this year. In the last 30 days, they are number 4 in baseball in team OPS and number 6 in isolated power, with a pretty high walk rate and pretty low strikeout rate to go with it against righties. So, if Manning is the option here, I don't expect him to go too deep into this ball game. The Tigers have to rely on not the best bullpen, so I do think that the Rangers will be able to get to the Tigers pitchers in this game. And Martin Perez, as much as I've mentioned that there's some regression concerns, and as much as we faded him away from Globe Life Field, when he's pitching at home, he's pretty sturdy. A 3-1 record with a 1.71 ERA in 31 2/3 innings. The majority of his innings have been on the road, but he's pitching here at home. The Tigers' offense against lefties has been decent, but I think Perez hits him. I think Perez pitches well in this game and gives the Rangers a win. So give me the Texas Rangers on the run line here at Globe Life Field. Next up, it's the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Chicago Cubs. Ranger Suarez and Jameson Taillon are your projected starters. The Phillies have a losing record on the road this season, while the Cubs do have a winning record at Wrigley Field. But I do like the matchup more for Philadelphia in this game. Ranger Suarez is in great form right now. A 2.19 ERA away from home, and in his last 5 starts, he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games, 1 earned run or fewer in 4 of those 5. So, he's been one of the better pitchers in baseball in the last, month or so. And you're facing a Cubs team that's, got mixed results against lefties this year. But in the last 30 days, Chicago's ranked 19th in the league in isolated in team OPS. Isolated power-wise, a little bit better, ranked 15th, right around league average, but a pretty steep strikeout rate of 24.3%. I do think Suarez pitches well in this game. The Phillies have not been the best against righties in the last month, but Taillon, he struggled this year, 6.71 ERA, even higher ERA at Wrigley Field, 1-3 record there. I do think the Phillies have the advantage in the bullpen, so I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies here on the money line on the road. Next up is the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see Gavin Williams and Brady Singer on the mound in this one. Now, part of the reason why I like the Guardians to go on to win the American League Central, still, 2 games back in the division right now and 3 games below 500 right now, is the fact that they have 13 games to make up with these Kansas City Royals in the season series. This is the first game of 13 between these two, and I think the Guardians have a chance of winning 10-plus games in this season series because they do the little things right while the Royals have done the little things way wrong. It's why the Royals are one of the worst teams in baseball, and the Guardians are still competitive despite not having a very large payroll or a lot of superstars, and the Guardians having a lot of injuries in their starting rotation. Guys like Savale, McKenzie, and Quantrill all missing significant amount of times. Yet, the Guardians are still competitive in that division race. So, Gavin Williams, yes, he struggled in his Major League debut, but Singer's not been great this year. The Guardians get on base. They're smart on the base paths. They limit strikeouts at the dish. A very good defensive team, a smart manager. I like their chances in this series big time. So, give me the Guardians here on the money line on the road. And some books let you bet series prices. I would take the Guardians to sweep the series in this game. Probably get a pretty good plus money price. I think it's worth a wager. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field. Clayton Kershaw and Connor Seabold are your starters in this one. We see the Dodgers as big favorites in this game, and I think for good reason. I would lay the 1.5 runs, even 2.5 runs if you want to get a better price with Los Angeles. I think this is a mismatch on the mound in this game, the bullpen as well, and certainly the lineups. The Dodgers, when you look at Clayton Kershaw, he's been a Dodger for his career, so he's pitched at Coors Field quite a bit against the Rockies. And when you look at his numbers overall at Coors Field, he's 11-8 with a 4.82 ERA, but he's got a lot of experience there, 155 innings of work. Facing a Rockies team this year that has really struggled against left-handed pitchers, I think Kershaw gives the Dodgers 5, 6, maybe more good innings in this game. Connor Seabold and the bullpen have not been great for Colorado. We saw Seabold in his last game, 3 innings of work, 9 base hits, 9 earned runs, and 4 home runs in a 10-2 blowout loss to the Braves. I like the Dodgers in this game in a big way, so give me the Dodgers on the run line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Los Angeles Angels. We're going to see Michael Kopech and Shohei Ohtani on the mound in this one. Another pitching mismatch, in my opinion. I think Ohtani and the Angels take this one. Michael Kopech was starting to really get into good form for Chicago, but as of late now, the walks are starting to pile up again. In 8 1/3 innings, 9 walks allowed, so more walks than innings pitched is not what you want to see from Kopech. Yes, the strikeouts have been there, but we've seen him not really be able to go deep into ball games because of that control, problem. And the White Sox bullpen's just not been very trustworthy this year, been very inconsistent. And the Angels, Shohei Ohtani, one of the better pitchers in the American League, facing a White Sox team that's just not been great against right-handed pitchers this year in the last 30 days as well. When you look at the numbers, strikeout rate, this team's got 24.1%. The White Sox do against righties in the last 30 days. Their OPS is ranked 23rd in baseball against righties in the last month. Isolated power numbers are a little bit better, but still, I got to back the Angels in this game on the run line at home. Next up, it's the New York Yankees taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Johnny Brito and Paul Blackburn on the mound in this one. I think there's value with the Oakland A's in this game. I would take them. You could split your bet between the run line and the money line, or you can just take the money line. But Paul Blackburn's been solid, a 4.21 ERA and a 2.79 ERA when he's pitching at home. 9 2/3 innings, 15 strikeouts. His last outing wasn't the best at Cleveland, but he still had 7 Ks and 5 innings of work against a tough team to strike out in the Cleveland Guardians. And, the Yankees, without Aaron Judge, this lineup has just not been the same. Overall, their offense and their on-base percentage, one of the worst in baseball. Johnny Brito pitched well in his last start, his first start back at the Major League level, but he's overall had really a lot of inconsistencies in his game. That's why his ERA is at 4.89 and 5.19 on the road. With not a very trustworthy offense for the Yankees, I think there's value with the home team. Give me the A's here on the money line and the run line at Coliseum. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Taj Bradley and Zach Gallen are your starters. Now, it's tough to go against these Tampa Bay Rays this year, but it's also tough to go against Zach Gallen when he's pitching at Chase Field. He's been unbelievable at home, 7-0 with a 1.00 ERA in 54 innings of work, 67 strikeouts, and only 2 home runs allowed. On the other side, though, Taj Bradley's been really sharp on the road this year. At Tropicana Field, he's struggled, a 5.7 ERA in 23 innings. But on the road in 25 1/3, he's got a 2.13 ERA, a low opponent's batting average, only 1 home run allowed, and 38 strikeouts. I like the under in the first 5 innings between Tampa Bay and Arizona. Next up, we see the final game for Tuesday's card in Major League Baseball. It's the Washington Nationals and the Seattle Mariners. Brian Wu and Jake Irvin are your starters. Both of these starters coming off pretty good outings in their last starts. Jake Irvin, 6 innings of 1-run ball with 6 strikeouts against the D-backs. And Brian Wu against the New York Yankees, a big stage there. A 10-2 victory for the Mariners. He went 5 1/3 innings with 5 strikeouts and no earned runs in that game. His strikeout stuff has been there. He's overall 25 strikeouts in 17 2/3 innings. Jake Irvin's been a little bit inconsistent when it comes to missing bats, and the Nationals bullpen has just not been very good this year. The Mariners have a huge advantage in the bullpen in this game and this series. So, I do think with the Mariners' better lineup, the better bullpen, I think the better starting pitcher, and being the home team, I like their chances in this one. So give me the Seattle Mariners on the run line at T-Mobile Park. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.